Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next hour. Prime Ministers of India and Bangladesh to jointly inaugurate 3 development projects today to boost connectivity and energy security in the region. Heavy clashes reported in Gaza. Israeli airstrike hits residential area of densely populated refugee camp, killing and wounding hundreds. Britain brings together government officials and tech leaders for a summit on safety of artificial intelligence that begins today. And in ICC Cricket World Cup, New Zealand to take on in-form South Africa in the clash of tournament heavyweights. As the Israel-Hamas war enters 25th day, the Israeli military claimed that its 9 soldiers have been killed in Gaza fighting. Meanwhile, an early morning Israeli attack on the densely populated Jabalia refugee camp in North Gaza killed at least 50 people and a Hamas commander, while hundreds others were injured. An Israel Defense Forces statement said the strike by fighter jets on Jabalia had killed Ibrahim Biari, commander of Hamas's Central Jabalia Battalion. Meanwhile, rescue operations are underway in the area. The attack is being condemned across the Arab world and has been denounced by humanitarian organizations. Israeli tanks and troops, meanwhile, continue to advance towards some of the northern Gaza's most populated areas, including Jabalia. After the deadly attack on the refugee camps, Gaza's largest telecommunication provider, Paltel, has said that communications and internet services were also completely cut off in the enclave again. Israel besieged Gaza after Hamas attack. The UN and other aid officials said civilians in the enclave were living in a public health catastrophe, with hospitals struggling to treat casualties as electricity supplies petered out. Israel military has confirmed it was behind the strike, saying it was targeting a high-ranking Hamas commander.
Our forces are currently fighting deep inside the Gaza Strip. They are killing terrorists in close-range combat, conducting coordinated strikes on terror targets from land, air and sea. During the afternoon hours, infantry and armored forces secured a central Hamas stronghold in the western part of Jabalia. This stronghold served as a training center for the October 7th massacre and a passage to the coastline from where additional terrorists set off to perpetrate the October 7th massacre. In the course of the fighting, we eliminated many terrorists and destroyed terror infrastructure. This is complicated combat, some of which is face-to-face combat. During the combat, we lost soldiers.
Bolivia is among the first countries to actively break diplomatic relations with Israel over its war in Gaza and accuse Israel of committing crimes against humanity in its attack on the Gaza Strip.
Based on its principled stance of respect towards life, Bolivia has decided to break diplomatic relations with the Israeli state in repudiation and condemnation of the aggressive and disproportionate Israeli military offensive taking place in the Gaza Strip, which threatens international peace and security.
And countries upset with the recent Israel attack on the Gaza Strip are recalling their Israel's ambassadors. Chilean President Gabriel Boric took to his social media account and said his government is recalling its envoy to Israel for consultations in light of what Boric said were unacceptable violations of international humanitarian law by Israel in the Gaza Strip. Followed by that, Colombian President Gustavo Petro also made the announcement on social media saying they are recalling the ambassador to Israel for consultations. Meanwhile, another refugee camp in the center of Gaza was under Israeli attack on Tuesday. Rescuers were looking for survivors buried under heavy rubble in the Nuseirat refugee camp. As per local reports, Israeli forces were targeting a wedding hall that had become a shelter for displaced people, leaving dozens dead, several injured. US President Joe Biden and Jordan's King Abdullah on Tuesday discussed their shared commitment to increasing aid to civilians in Gaza during the Israel-Hamas conflict. The two leaders also reiterated the importance of protecting civilian lives and that it was critical to ensure that Palestinians were not forcibly displaced from Gaza. Biden and King Abdullah discussed urgent ways to stem violence and reduce regional tensions. Meanwhile, Jack Lew is set to be the next U.S. ambassador to Israel. U.S. Senate on Tuesday backed President Joe Biden's nominee despite Republican objections over his past dealings with Iran. The Senate voted 53 to 43, largely along the party lines, with Biden's fellow Democrats backing Lew and most Republicans opposing him. Democrats had pushed to fill the vacancy at the embassy in Israel quickly in the aftermath of the October 7th attack on Israel from Gaza by Iran-backed Hamas militants. Families of Israeli hostages held by Hamas gathered in Tel Aviv carrying photographs of their loved ones. Relatives have been worried since the military stepped up ground assaults inside the Palestinian territory. During the gathering on Tuesday, some carried a sign calling for a ceasefire. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with some of the families on October 28th, and in a video his office released, he says that recovering the hostages was an integral part of military's goals. Hamas took more than 230 hostages, including children, back into Gaza during its raids. And relatives of those held hostage by Hamas called on French authorities and the international community to help secure their release. At a press conference organized by the Israeli embassy in Paris, a delegation of families of people kidnapped and held in Gaza asked for international pressure to be put on Hamas and countries that host their members. The relatives of hostages were in Paris as part of a trip organized by Israeli Bar Association to draw attention to the situation of Israeli hostages held in Gaza. More than 200 hostages have been seized by Hamas in a cross-border rampage into Israel. The United States is sending an additional 300 troops to the Middle East with focus on providing support in areas like explosive ordnance, disposal and communications. Pentagon spokesperson Brigadier General Patrick Ryder says the troops are intended to support regional deterrence efforts and further bolster U.S. force protection capabilities.
Announced the decision to deploy an additional 300 troops to the U.S. Central Command region from home stations in the continental United States. These additional troops will provide capabilities in explosive ordnance disposal, communications, and other support enablers for forces already in the region. Please note that we will not discuss specific deployment locations for these forces, but I can confirm they are not going to Israel and that they are intended to support regional deterrence efforts and further bolster U.S. force protection capabilities.
Amid the Israel-Hamas conflict, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will visit Israel on Friday. During his visit, Blinken will hold meetings with members of the government and then make other stops in the region. Dozens of Egyptian volunteers at the Rafah crossing facilitated the movement of 8 trucks into Gaza as the country's prime minister visited the border. The White House confirmed 66 trucks of humanitarian assistance had entered Gaza in the last 24 hours. The dozens more are expected to be cleared for deliveries. Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden received a commitment from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to try to increase the flow of aid into Gaza, the White House informed.
So today I'm pleased to say that another 66 trucks got into Gaza over the last 24 hours with life-saving humanitarian assistance, including food, water, and medicine. It's the highest single-day delivery so far. But again, it's a trickle compared to what needs to get in, and we're going to keep working that very, very hard.
And DD India correspondent Amritpal Singh, who is in Israel, gives us perspective on what is happening on the ground and the possible fallouts as the conflict intensifies.
The war is in its 4th week now, but everybody, including the Israelis, have been saying that it's going to be a long and protracted battle. They realize the complications, the challenges the war poses for them, because to achieve their stated objective of completely decimating the Hamas, they need to get into close combat. For that, they would need to go in for a ground invasion, which they have. Then the other challenge is, how do they distinguish between Hamas and the civilians? Because Hamas follows no rules of war. They will blend in with the civilians, or as the apprehensions are being expressed, they could use the civilians as human shields. There will be a steep climb in the casualty numbers of the civilians. Already it's very high, 8,000 plus, of which, according to UN, 70% are children and women. UN has been shouting from the rooftops, crying itself hoarse, saying that, what is going inside is not even a drop in the ocean. It is, far less than what is required, because there's a human catastrophe unfolding out there. So how do they deal with that? So that is why you see even the Western allies of Israel calling for humanitarian pause and more aid going in. The effect it's had on Israel is that while Israel says no ceasefire, it has at least not stopped aid as of now. It's agreed to allowing 100 trucks a day. Though that the number of trucks going in is far less than that number, so they need to allow all that to move in to even achieve their own objective. If there is no water, there is no food in southern Israel, why would the civilians who are in north be allowed to go in? And that will be an impediment to their military objective. So they will have to do that. They are showing signs of doing that, but not in the measure required.
US President Joe Biden and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping to meet in San Francisco later this month. The meeting will be held on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum in San Francisco. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre told reporters on Tuesday the two leaders are aiming to have a constructive meeting. The APEC summit is to take place in mid-November.
I mean, we've been talking about, the president said he's looking forward to meeting with President Xi, and so not going to get into details about this meeting that's going to happen this month. It's going to be in San Francisco. It's going to be a constructive meeting. The president's looking forward to it.
An unprecedented trial is underway in the U.S. state of Colorado, where a group of Republican and unaffiliated voters are trying to block Donald Trump from appearing on the state's 2024 presidential ballot. But Trump's team says everything he said about the 2020 election being stolen is within his free speech rights. Tony Waterman has more.
In opening statements, lawyers for the voters argued that Donald Trump is ineligible to appear on the ballot because of his role in the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, which they say violated the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. That amendment says any person who has sworn an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, which U.S. presidents do, is disqualified from holding office if they have engaged in insurrection and rebellion. To try and prove their point, they played snippets from Trump's fiery speech to supporters ahead of the 2021 riot, where he told the crowd to, quote, fight like hell. Lawyers argued that Trump knew the power of his words, but the former president's defense team has dismissed the lawsuit as anti-democratic, insisting that Trump took precautions to avoid violence and used the word peace several times during that now infamous speech. This case is considered a long shot for the prosecution. Not only has Trump not been convicted of insurrection, he hasn't even been charged with it in the 4 criminal cases against him. Still, Trump is facing similar disqualification cases in at least 4 other states, including Minnesota, where the state's Supreme Court will take up the case on Thursday. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's children are set to take the stand at his fraud trial case in New York starting this week. Donald Trump Jr. is expected to kick things off on Wednesday, followed by Eric and Ivanka, who will take the stand after her father next week. They are all current or former executives of the Trump organization, and prosecutors say the former president artificially inflated the value of his assets in financial statements to secure better loan rates and insurance policy. Trump calls the case a witch hunt and is expected to take the stand himself next week. Tony Waterman in Austin reporting for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Thailand announces temporary removal of visa requirements for travellers from India and Taiwan. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar holds talks with his Portuguese counterpart. And Delhi Air Quality Index nosedives to very poor category. Air Quality Index reported at an alarming level of 336 this morning. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Thailand has announced the temporary removal of visa requirements for travellers from India and Taiwan. Travellers from India and Taiwan will enjoy visa-free entry to Thailand from November 10th to May 10th. The decision came following a cabinet meeting with aim of boosting tourism in the country. The country's Foreign Affairs Minister Ali Sabri made the announcement on social media platform X. And DD India correspondent Patrick Falk reports from Singapore on Thailand announcing temporary removal of visa requirements for travellers from India and Taiwan. Here's more.
Exports from Thailand, as is the case for exports from many countries around the world, are struggling right now. So the Thai government is turning to tourism in an effort to boost the economy. So in a cabinet meeting, Thai Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin announced visa waivers for visitors from India and Taiwan for a period of 6 months from November 10th, as you say. So it'll last until May 10th. They'll be allowed to stay for up to 30 days at a time compared to 15 days under Thailand's visa on arrival scheme. So, this will make quite a big difference for visitors from India. And the reason why the Indian market is being targeted isn't just because, no doubt, as a result of greater spending power among Indian tourists, but also because tourism companies, airlines and hospitality chains have been targeting the Indian market. So this is a matter of logistics falling into place as well, on top of everything else. Thailand received 22 million visitors so far this year, so it's some way short of the 40 million it hit in 2019 before the pandemic set in. And India is becoming an increasingly important market. There have been just under 1.2 billion visitors from India in the first 9 months of this year. It's hoping that it'll hit 1.5 million by the end of this year. And with this tourist waiver in place, there's every reason to think that it could hit that target.
Patrick Falk in Singapore for DD India.
Moving on, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister of Bangladesh Sheikh Hasina will jointly inaugurate 3 Indian-assisted development projects today. The 3 projects are Akola-Agartala cross-border rail link, Khulna-Mongla port rail line and Unit 2 of Maitri Super Thermal Power Plant. The Akola-Agartala cross-border rail link project has been executed under Government of India grant assistance. The Khulna-Mongla port rail line project has been implemented under India's concessional line of credit, and the Maitri Super Thermal Power project under Indian concessional financing scheme loan of $1.6 billion. And DT India correspondent Jessica Taneja joins us from the newsroom with more updates on the story. Jessica, take us through the implications of these projects for connectivity and energy security in particular for the region.
Well, as you know, Bangladesh has been a strategic partner for India for many, many years now. And this particular project, which is going to sort of provide that kind of energy security in the region, is huge. And it is on a 50-50 partnership between NTPCL and the Bangladesh Power Company Limited. So this cooperation further deepens, looking at the broader strategy of what India and Bangladesh have focused on, especially in the Indo-Pacific as well. It's one of the key players, in fact, right now, the strongest partnership for India in the Bay of Bengal. And of course, one does understand the kind of heightened activity we've seen in the Indo-Pacific. Given that in the background, that has already shown that how strengthened partnerships can sort of lead to cooperation and further collaborations.
Jessica, two rail lines, important steps forward for people-to-people connectivity in the region for sure.
Absolutely, and I would like to point out, that the Bangladesh government has recently allowed the transit and, in fact, the transshipment of cargo from West Bengal to northeastern states via Chattogram and the Mongla ports, as we're pointing out today. And so this becomes very strategically advantageous as well, and of course, enhancing further cooperation between the two nations when it comes to energy security and, of course, putting the priorities and needs of the global south as India positions itself to be.
Jessica, thanks very much for those updates. India's Finance Minister Nala Sitaraman will embark on a 3-day official visit to Sri Lanka starting today. During her visit, she will address the NAM 200 organized by Government of Sri Lanka to commemorate the 200th anniversary of arrival of Indian origin Tamils. The event will be graced by Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardene. Nirmala Sitharaman will also address the India-Sri Lanka Business Summit at Colombo, among other events. As part of her official visit, the minister will call on President and Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. She will also witness the exchange of Memorandum of Understanding for the solar electrification of religious places in the island nation. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar held productive talks with his Portuguese counterpart, João Camilo, during his visit to Portugal. Both the leaders exchanged views on various global issues and discussed progress in bilateral economic cooperation. Jaishankar also praised Portugal's support for India-EU relations. He met with other Portuguese officials, paid his respects to Mahatma Gandhi and Kasturba Gandhi in Lisbon. India's Education and Skill Development Minister Dharmendra Pradhan is embarking on a 3-day visit to United Arab Emirates, UAE, from November 1st to 3rd. During his visit, the minister will hold discussions with key UAE ministers, officials, educators, Indian community representatives and business leaders. The agenda includes visits to educational institutions and meetings with UAE education leaders. This visit serves as a platform for both countries to enhance their educational and skill development systems, promising mutual benefits and growth. And let's now take a look at other stories making news. The Army Aviation Corps is celebrating its 38th Racing Day today. One of the youngest corps of Indian Army, Army Aviation, was created as a separate arm on 1st November 1986. It has grown from an arm with limited reconnaissance and observation assets into a potent aerial maneuver arm of the Indian Army. Prime Minister Narendra Modi extends his warm wishes to the states on their Formation Day. Today, 8 states are celebrating their Formation Day, including Haryana, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala and Punjab. These states were formed in different years but on the same day, November 1st. The combined index of 8 core industries increased by 8.1% in September of 2023 as compared to last year. Coal, steel and electricity production recorded healthy year-on-year growth, while coal production grew 16.1%. the second highest pace in 12 months, while steel and electricity rose 9.6 and 9.3%, respectively. Delhi starts joking with rising pollution levels, but stubble burning continues in Punjab. Around 1,000 cases of stubble burning are being reported every day in the state. Recently, images released by NASA's Worldview satellite also shows a sudden spike in cases of stubble burning in the region. Britain is bringing together government officials, technology leaders for a summit on the safety of artificial intelligence that begins today. Participants will be discussing the risks and benefits from the technology, as well as the considerations that need to be made when it comes to regulations. Julia Chapman reports from London.
World leaders always acknowledge the potential benefits that artificial intelligence will bring. But over the next 2 days, it's the risks of AI that will be front and center. The British government has focused on what it sees as a long-term existential threat from artificial intelligence. Concerns revolve around the potential of AI to become sentient and for hackers and terrorists to use the technology for malevolent acts. But critics say that emphasis ignores the more immediate risks, including racist biases, disinformation, and violations of data protection. The UK has so far shied away from regulating AI, preferring to adapt existing legal frameworks. The European Union, meanwhile, is moving forward with dedicated legislation, while US President Joe Biden signed an executive order earlier this week, mandating that AI companies share details with the government of how they are ensuring safety if there is a potential threat to national security. There's also been controversy over the participation of China in the summit. The Chinese Vice Minister of Science and Technology will take part in working groups on day 1, although he isn't invited to day 2. China and the US are the global leaders when it comes to artificial intelligence. President Biden is sending Vice President Kamala Harris to take part in the UK's summit. The world's richest man, Elon Musk, will also be attending and will hold a live Q&A with Prime Minister Rishi Sunak on Thursday. The UK is hoping that this summit will help it become a leader in AI safety worldwide. But the event has been overshadowed by war in the Middle East and undermined by the small number of leaders attending. It's expected that a global advisory board on regulation will be launched at the end of the 2-day event, aimed at finding a common approach to tackling the challenges of the future. Julia Chapman in London, reporting for DD India.
Quantum computers are expected to open a new world of possibilities for the next generation. United Kingdom is strengthening science, research and innovation links with India. Its universities are providing scholarship programs to nurture the full capacity of next generation of science leaders. Jessica Taneja has the details.
The UK has more than doubled its investment into quantum technology just earlier this year. The focus has been on how to advance quantum computing and bring in other countries from the world. We have with us the Vice Provost of Imperial College, Peter Haynes. Thank you for joining us here on DD India. Begin by telling us about your scholarship programs, and as we hear, 50% of them are going to be women, especially the ones who are pursuing STEM education for their masters. Tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're pleased to announce that we're going to invest £400,000 for 30 scholarships over the next 3 years, at least half of which will be for female students, because we want to attract the most talented students possible to have STEM education at Imperial College.
The United Kingdom would also want to look at what United States and China are doing at the same time. Of course, driving the industry is not only about looking at your competitors, but also helping in bringing in more resources to be able to bring in more talent to the industry and to take it forward. How has that come along so far?
One of the key things about the UK programme was that from the very beginning it was co-designed between partners in academia, government and industry in order to make sure that what we're doing is transforming those scientific discoveries into technologies for tomorrow. And to do that, as you rightly say, we need the people to do it. We need skilled workers, new students, but also from industry to give them the skills they need to contribute to this endeavour.
And lastly, Peter, Analysts say that British science is undergoing a major reset at the moment. It's prompted by factors which include, of course, Brexit and a decline in productivity. But at the same time, there has been a lot of movement when it comes to bringing in engineers and, of course, promoting STEM worldwide. Your scholarships, are they a part of that larger program? And what more does Imperial want to do in the field of research and tech, and especially focusing on STEM?
Yeah, the UK has a stated aim to be a science superpower in the world, and Imperial has had an ambition for as long as it has been around, that it really wants to seek excellence in science, technology, medicine and business, and therefore those aims are absolutely aligned, and our scholarship programme is indeed part of this effort that we want to attract really the very best students from all over the world, the most diverse class ever, if you like.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Political upheaval reported in Bangladesh, with BNP calling for a traffic blockade program. A train transporting fuel charred in Russian-controlled Ukrainian city of Donetsk after Ukrainian shelling. Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution. This series is going to tell stories of such change makers. Watch Change Makers on DD India. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Our top stories. Prime Ministers of India and Bangladesh to inaugurate key development projects to boost connectivity and energy security in the region. An Israeli air attack hits apartment blocks in a residential area of densely populated refugee camp, killing and wounding hundreds. Heavy clashes reported in Gaza. Britain brings together government officials, technology leaders for a summit on the safety of artificial intelligence that begins today. Unprecedented trial underway in the U.S. state of Colorado, where a group of Republican and unaffiliated voters tried to block Donald Trump from appearing on the state's 2024 presidential ballot. Updates now on the Russia-Ukraine crisis. During a nightly video address, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukraine's attack on Russian Navy in the Black Sea have crippled Moscow's war efforts on Tuesday. He added that troops must keep fighting and not burn out. In a world that expects instant successes, there has been little movement along the front line in recent months. Ukrainian counteroffensive has achieved only limited success.
The modern world is set up in such a way that it becomes accustomed to success too quickly. When the full-scale aggression began, many in the world did not think Ukraine would endure. The colossal things done by our people, by our soldiers, are now taken for granted. Ukraine's success in the battle for the Black Sea is something that will be in the history books, although it is not so often discussed now. But no matter what, we have to do our part, defend our state, Ukrainian independence, our life, our culture, Ukrainian freedom, and we will protect it.
Meanwhile, UN's Office of Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs Director of Coordination, Ramesh Rajasingham, said more than 9,900 civilians have been killed since the start of the invasion, which is equal to killing of 16 civilians per day. The findings were published in a report based on 2 fact-finding missions to Rosa by Office of United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights.
At the latest count, more than 9,900 civilians have been killed since the start of the invasion. To put this into perspective, this is equivalent to almost 16 civilians killed every day. As these are only the figures of that the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights has so far formally verified, the actual toll is certainly higher.
A train transporting fuel caught fire in the Russian-controlled Ukrainian city of Donetsk on Tuesday after Ukrainian shelling. As per the media reports, a person was killed, several others were injured, including 3 reporters, as a result of the shelling across the city. In Bangladesh, the first day of nationwide 3-day road, rail, waterway blockade was marked by stray incidents of violence, including clashes with the police and torching vehicles. The blockade was enforced by Bangladesh Nationalist Party and other opposition parties. The blockade is to mount pressure on the Awami League government to quit and hold the next elections, which is due in January 2024, under a non-party neutral administration. Meanwhile, Chief Election Commissioner of Bangladesh said 12 national polls would be held as scheduled. He told reporters after holding a meeting with US Ambassador Peter Haas on Tuesday. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. Orange juice prices reached their highest since 1966 due to limited production in the US, Brazil and Mexico. The January contract on the Intercontinental Exchange reached an all-time high of $4.17 per pound, up 90% this year. However, fundamentals remain positive, with negative weather and bacterial disease reducing production in Mexico, United States and Brazil. Barbara Walters' $8 million estate, spanning over 300 lots, is set for a live auction at Bonhams in New York City. The collection, spanning her Upper East Side home, includes a John Singer Sargent painting, a Harry Winston diamond ring, and earring designed specifically for the Walters. Proceeds will go to Walters charities. Around 50 Brazilian Santas graduated from Rio de Janeiro Santa School on October 31st. They caroled through Santa Teresa. Waving at passerby, they received their graduation diploma, allowing them to work as official Santas. The golden key symbolizing the beginning of the Christmas season. During the ceremony, too, Father Christmas remembered Gaza Strip conflict and demanded global peace. 500 baby sea turtles were released into the Pacific Ocean in North Colombia, including olive ridley and blackwood turtles, through a conservation program by Guardians of Mangrove Association. The association, in collaboration with fishermen, cares for endangered turtle eggs and monitors them for a month and a half before releasing them back into their habitat. And the US Fish and Wildlife Service, an association of zoos and aquariums, have launched a pilot wildlife confiscation network in Southern California to ensure wildlife caught in illegal trafficking survive and thrives. The program will place confiscated animals at a Los Angeles zoo, with plans to expand to other trafficking hotspots like Miami, El Paso, and Texas. The northern Queensland state of Australia is experiencing bushfires that have destroyed dozens of homes and claimed the lives of 2 people. Residents in Queensland have been advised to evacuate due to 2 massive bushfires, which have destroyed at least 45 homes and killed at least 2 people. The early start of the season comes as Australia recorded its driest September, and the Weather Bureau predict hot weather and below average rainfall. New South Wales is also experiencing wildfires. "4,000 residents of Riverside County were ordered to evacuate after 890-hectare wildfire in Southern California caused by desert winds broke out. Southern California experienced a massive fire hazard due to Santa Ana winds, causing the Highland fire to nearly double in size overnight. Officials opened refugee centers, evacuated campers from a recreational vehicle resort. The cause of the fire is being investigated. The place remains a threat, with several roads closed and evacuation orders in effect. Mexican residents in Acapulco began receiving food and supplies as they work to recover from Hurricane Otis devastation. Over 100 people are dead or missing in Mexico due to the hurricane, with damage cost potentially reaching about $15 billion. Thousands of armed forces are distributing food and supplies, where civil population authorities confirmed 48 deaths in Acapulco. Mexico's government plans to unveil a rescue plan on November 1st.
I need food. The storm took the roof off my house, but still I will recover that with work. We need food, water, tortillas, eggs. That's all we need, most to survive.
And US President Joe Biden travels to Minnesota later today for a speech about how his administration's economic plans are helping the rural America. White House is ramping up events across the country to try and get voters on the side ahead of next November's elections. US markets were largely unchanged in Tuesday's trading ahead of the speech. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
Well, here we have President Joe Biden in full campaigning mode, just over a year before the 2024 presidential election. The choice of Minnesota, a must-win state, shows the incumbent courting the rural America vote. The White House says that the speech will focus on how government spending, along with Biden's policies, has helped improve people's lives. The president plans to outline how his government is ensuring rural Americans do not have to leave their hometowns to find opportunities. It comes off the back of federal investment to help farmers and ahead of critical infrastructure improvements, including high-speed internet for rural communities. Top Biden officials are planning a series of trips to around 15 other states, including Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa, and New Hampshire. With the economy expected to be one of the main issues in next year's election, the president is really trying to show voters how nearly 3 years of the Biden administration has helped their pocketbooks and convince them that they're better off now despite high inflation and interest rates at their highest level in 22 years. The president's speech, though, is not expected to move markets much during Wednesday's trading. Instead, Wall Street will be eyeing the end of the Federal Reserve's two-day policy meeting. That wraps up on Wednesday afternoon in Washington and is expected to end with the central bank deciding not to raise interest rates. But the Fed has warned rate hikes will continue in the coming months to try and get inflation under control. In Washington, Nick Harper, reporting for DD India.
Monday night at the White House, President Joe Biden and First Lady celebrated Halloween. This year, the White House is calling it Hallow Read celebration with focus on books. The President and First Lady gave books and candies to trick-or-treaters. For the occasion, trees, pumpkins and flower arrangements were used to decorate the White House. White House Historical Association claims that Halloween has been observed at the White House since the middle of the 20th century. The much-awaited Pravasi Parichay, or Dubai Diaspora Week, kicked off in Riyadh with Indian expatriate community celebrating the National Unity Day. The festivities included a ghazal night with renowned singer and poet Johnny Foster. The week-long event will feature cultural events such as quiz for students, a photo exhibition, Women's Day celebrations, state days showcasing cultural heritage of 12 Indian states, Indian Ambassador to Riyadh, Dr. Suhail Khan, and India's Minister of State for External Affairs, V. Muralidharan, both stressed on the importance of the occasion.
The 2.4 million strong Indian diaspora in Saudi Arabia is one of the largest expatriate Indian communities in the world and has played a significant role in promoting the economic, trade, socio-cultural and people-to-people relationship between both our countries. The positive contributions of the Indian community in Saudi Arabia in the development of our nations have been appreciated and recognized by the leadership of both the countries.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Indian Prime Minister Modi to interact with India's Asian Para Games contingent today.
Namaskaram from Telangana, India's youngest state. a rising star.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. And we now talk about all the action from the world of sports. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will interact with India's Asian Para Games contingent at Major Dhyan Chand National Stadium in New Delhi today. The athletes, their coaches, officials from the Paralympic Committee of India, Indian Olympic Association and representatives from National Sports Federation will attend the program. The program is an endeavour by Prime Minister to congratulate the athletes for their outstanding achievements at the Asian Para Games 2022. India won a total of 111 medals, including 29 gold this year. And Hangzhou Asian Games silver medalist Joi Yari creates new records wherever she appears on the track. In the ongoing National Games in Goa, Jyoti won her favourite event, 100 metres hurdles. With the new National Games record, she won another gold in 4x100 metre relay. In an exclusive interaction with DD India correspondent Suchitra, the double gold medalist Jyoti expressed a desire to end the season on a high note and then focus on her preparations for the Olympics.
We have with us Joi Yari, who now has 2 gold medals from the National Games.
First of all, thank you. And I'm enjoying it, quite happy because it was a decent timing yesterday also in 100 meter hurdles. And I don't know today, actually, I don't have any expectations. Just I want to run in my leg I want to do my job. So, yeah, I'm happy with because our team was in first place. So, yeah.
You won a medal in the Asian Games, but still you are here at the National Games. It shows that you give importance to the National Games. So what made you participate in the National Games?
See, every National Games, every 4 years once it will come. So I don't want to lose this year. And it was a very great event and very well conducting and the timings and everything here. So yeah, I felt actually glad that I'm here and it's a very motivation for me to do Indian competitions.
Thank you so much for talking to us. So Joi Yari has already won 2 gold medals in the National Games. With camera person Sumit Diman, this is Suchitra reporting for DD India from Goa.
And in ICC Cricket World Cup today, New Zealand will take on in-form South Africa in the clash of tournament heavyweights. A victory here will have a winner with 1 foot in the semi-finals, while the loser may become vulnerable to the chasing pack. 2 of the informed teams of the tournament meet in Pune, and this has the potential to act as a precursor to what may lay ahead in the knockout stages of the event. The 2 sides currently occupy 2nd and 3rd positions on the standings. They last met in the ODI World Cup in England and Wales in 2019, and on that occasion it was the Kiwis that prevailed in a thriller on the back of a magnificent century, thanks to skipper Kane Williamson. And while on 2015, the Proteas faced heartbreaking loss to New Zealand in the semi-finals, it left South African stars A.B. de Villiers and Mon Markle teary-eyed, also their last World Cup outing. In Colombia, relatives and supporters marched to demand the release of Liverpool forward Luis Diaz's kidnapped father. Diaz's mother marched along with other demonstrators in Barrancas, dressed in white and holding balloons. in a peaceful protest to demand the release of her husband. Diaz's parents were kidnapped in Colombia last Saturday, and while Diaz's mother was rescued, authorities in Colombia continue to search for Diaz's kidnapped father. Colombia's national police offered $48,500 for any information leading to his rescue. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi is, along with his Bangladeshi counterpart Sheikh Hasina, is set to launch key development projects today. There are 2 rail lines and apart projects to be launched today. Prime Minister of India and Bangladesh will jointly launch the 3 projects. The projects are Akoura-Agartala cross-border rail link. The second one is Khulna-Mongla port rail line. And the third one, Unit 2 of Maitri Super Thermal Power Plant. Significant development projects which have implications for connectivity and energy security in the region. DD India correspondent Jessica Taneja joins us again in the next few minutes. A new chapter in the bilateral relations between India and Bangladesh is going to be scripted, with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina inaugurating development projects that will give boost to connectivity and energy security in the entire region, encompassing Bangladesh and northeast of India. We'll be connecting with our colleague Jessica Taneja, who's tracking the developments shortly. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Bangladeshi counterpart Sheikh Hasina are set to launch 3 key development projects. It includes 2 rail lines and 1 power projects. The projects are Akoura-Agartala cross-border rail link. There's also Khulna-Mongla port rail line and Unit 2 of the Maitri Super Thermal Power Plant. Significant implications for the energy security in the regions, also connectivity and people-to-people connectivity. Act East policy has been the cornerstone of India's engagement with Bangladesh and other nations to the east. Also, Neighbourhood First has been a key vision statement of India, and in this line, these key projects are going to be launched. My colleague Jessica Taneja now joins us with more updates on these key development projects. Jessica, first, the implications for energy security, for connectivity with the regions with the launch of these projects today by the 2 prime ministers.
Absolutely vital for both Bangladesh's economy and the Indian economy to a certain extent as well. This partnership, of course, as we know, is not something we've seen which is developed just recently. Over the years, India has been assisting Bangladesh. Let me point out some of the critical projects that India has been assisting, and Indian investment has been going into. As we know that Bangladesh is a high performer in multiple sectors. If you look at information, communications technology, if you look at small, medium-sized enterprises as well, Bangladesh has done well. Even economically, well, there is a problem with food security at the moment, and the inflation is high, but somehow the Bangladesh government is battling that. But the way the collaboration between India has moved forward, of course, the Bangladeshi ready-made garment, boom was also one of the things that India looked at very carefully and did sort of help Bangladesh to energize that sector as well, apart from this. So, of course, looking at the energy security and the kind of projects that the 2 have been completing over the years goes on to show that how serious this partnership is and how India wants to prioritize Bangladesh in the region given the broader Indo-Pacific strategy.
And Jessica, as developing nations, what are the implications for people of the region as far as these connectivity projects and this thermal power plant is concerned?
Well, as we speak about this thermal power plant, it's going to provide energy security to the entire region. The project has seen a funding of more than 358 crore rupees, and that is a lot of money being put into this small corridor between India and Bangladesh, and of course tends to hugely benefit the Mongla port as well.
Right, and Jessica, talking about India's Act East policy, neighbourhood policies, these projects are important milestones in that regard as well.
Absolutely, and India positioning the emerging developing economies and putting their agenda forward, as has been the vision of the country so far, and its leadership, its foreign diplomacy seems to be moving in that direction and carrying that forward. Bangladesh, of course, becomes a key regional player in that aspect. Going back to the 1970s, during the formative years of Bangladesh and the Liberation War, India has been a strong friend and, of course, has provided assistance to Bangladesh time and again whenever there has been crisis or there has been a need for assistance when it comes to even Bangladeshi economies. Of course, the ties between the two people relatively very close. You saw Sheikh Hasina, the Bangladesh Prime Minister, was here for the G20 summit as well. And today marks that another important milestone in the relationship between the two countries.
Right, and talking about how this engagement has been a continuous one, you mentioned the importance of the development partnership as well. In the larger context, how do we place these development projects, not the first, of course, but in line of many similar initiatives?
Well, if we talk about the Bay of Bengal, of course, maritime security, Bangladesh is a crucial partner. And, building such corridors only helps the two countries bring them closer when it comes to, security issues, etc. And India and Bangladesh have been collaborating beyond energy security as well, as I pointed out. And this just adds to the kind of projects, initiatives both countries have undertaken. India's commitment to invest in Bangladesh and energize its economy and perhaps help the country in crucial sectors like these has become one of the priorities of the country.
And when we talk about India as a credible development partner, not just in the region, but in the world, how does the line of initiatives today, take that image forward for the country?
Well, India has been positioning itself as one of the key players, and of course being the voice of the global south is what we've been hearing and what we've been noticing, and how the trajectory for India's diplomacy has been moving forward. But that said, India has made sure that Bangladesh, time and again, like its neighbor Sri Lanka, India has always been there whenever there is an assistance required from a neighboring country. And the relationship between Sheikh Hasina has been stronger than ever. So when these projects do commemorate, Bangladesh is seen as a key player and, of course, a key partner in the region, especially when we talk about Bay of Bengal and the broader Indo-Pacific strategy, which also involves other players. So, of course, knowing that Bangladesh will be a key strategic player benefits India in the longer run.
Well, Jessica, let's come back to the projects in question. There's Akoora-Agartala cross-border rail link. There's Khulna-Mongla Port rail line, two key rail projects that are going to be inaugurated by the two prime ministers. Specifically about these projects, what are the implications for the region as far as connectivity is concerned?
Well, as I pointed out to you, this particular initiatives allows the transit and transshipment of cargo from West Bengal to the northern states of Chattogram and Mongla ports. So, of course, that entire region tends to benefit from this project. And as I said earlier, it's built at the cost of $1.6 billion. It is going to provide 1,320 megawatt of electricity in the region. So, of course, usually tends to benefit the region.
Right, and the thermal power project is developing economies. Energy continues to remain a major concern. And for a country like Bangladesh, what could be the implications? Jessica, are you able to hear me? All right, we're trying to connect to our correspondent Jessica Taneja, who's getting us more on the key projects that are going to be launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina of Bangladesh. Let me just take you through what these projects are. The two rail lines that are going to be inaugurated today by the two leaders. There is Akoora-Agartala cross-border rail link and Khulna-Mongla Port rail line, important as far as connectivity in the region are concerned. Prime Minister Modi and Sheikh Hasina to jointly inaugurate three development projects. The three projects, importantly, have been executed through assistance from India, a way forward for India's development partnership with Bangladesh. The three projects are Akoora-Agartala cross-border rail link, Khulna-Mongla Port rail line. Those are the two rail projects that are going to be inaugurated. The third project is a power project. It's Unit 2 of the Maitri Super Thermal Power Plant. important as far as energy security for the region are concerned. These three key projects are going to be launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina of Bangladesh. India and Bangladesh Prime Ministers to unveil the three development projects for the region. The Unit 2 of the Maitri Super Thermal Power Plant has significant implications for the energy security of the region, and the two rail line projects are also expected to boost cargo transport as well as people-to-people connectivity in the region. India and Bangladesh have been close development partners, and today an important milestone in that partnership, where three important projects are going to be executed and launched by the two Prime Ministers, PM Modi of India and PM Sheikh Hasina of Bangladesh. In just a short while from now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina would be inaugurating the key projects which have significance for the region. We'll be getting you those updates as it comes in just a bit from now. The three projects include Agartala cross-border rail link, Khulna-Mongla port rail line, and Unit 2 of the Maitri Super Thermal Power Plant. And we now take you live to the ceremony of the launch of the three key projects by PM Modi and PM Sheikh Hasina.
Your Excellency Sheikh Hasina, Prime Minister of the Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Chief Minister of Tripura, ladies and gentlemen, Namaskar. I welcome you all to the joint inaugural ceremony of three India-assisted development projects by the Honorable Prime Ministers of India and Bangladesh. These three projects are the Khora-Agartala cross-border rail link, the Khulna-Mongla port rail line, and the Unit 2 of Maitri Super Thermal Power Plant. We will commence the event with a short video presenting the highlights of these three projects.
India and Bangladesh share a robust bilateral relationship. India and Bangladesh share a robust bilateral relationship that extends beyond strategic partnership. This enduring partnership encompasses collaboration across a wide spectrum of areas, including political and defense cooperation, economic ties, seamless connectivity, development cooperation, and vibrant exchanges among people.
मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि अगले 25 सालों के अमृत काल में भारत बांग्लादेश मित्रता नई ऊंचाइयां छुएगी.
Bangladesh stands as India's largest development partner with a development cooperation portfolio of nearly $10 billion in the form of concessional loans and grant assistance. With the inauguration of a Khora-Agartala cross-border rail link, Northeast India is now connected to Bangladesh by rail for the first time. The project aims to realize the long-standing developmental needs and aspirations of the people of Northeast India and of Bangladesh. It's a significant step towards better connecting the Chattogram port to traditional hinterland in Northeast India as the region experiences unprecedented economic progress. This creates myriad opportunities to boost trade, tourism, and close people-to-people ties between India and Bangladesh. This is the 6th cross-border rail link between the two countries, which connects Ganga Sagar station on the Dhaka-Chittagong line of Bangladesh Railway with Nischintapur railway station in Tripura. The total length is 12.24 kilometers with a 6.78-kilometer dual-gauge line built in Bangladesh. The total cost of the project is close to $150 million. The Bangladesh portion of the rail line was undertaken under Government of India's grant assistance of close to $50 million. The 64.7-kilometer long Khulna-Mongla Port Rail Line is being inaugurated. This is a significant connectivity initiative as it connects Mongla Port by rail for the first time. Mongla, the second largest port in Bangladesh, is now connected with the rail network in Bangladesh and also with India through Petrapol cross-border rail link. This rail link will further augment opportunities for trade, tourism and people-to-people connect between the two countries. The total project cost for Khulna-Mongla Port Rail Line under the Government of India line of credit is over $380 million, strengthening railway infrastructure of Bangladesh by implementing Khulna-Mongla Port Rail Line is a notable achievement for enhancing the sub-regional connectivity as other neighboring countries also use the Mongla port for trade. Earlier in September 2022, the two prime ministers inaugurated over 5-kilometer long rail bridge over Rupsha River, which is a significant part of this project. Collaboration in the power and energy sector is one of the hallmarks of India-Bangladesh bilateral partnership. The inauguration of Unit 2 of the Maitri Super Thermal Power Project at Rampal, Khulna today is a significant and timely achievement in energy cooperation between India and Bangladesh. The two prime ministers had jointly unveiled the Unit 1 of the Maitri Super Thermal Power Plant in September 2022, which is already operational in providing electricity to the people of Bangladesh. This 1,320 megawatt supercritical thermal power project is a testament of complementarity between India's proficiency in the power sector with Bangladesh's need for affordable and reliable source of energy. The operationalization of the Unit 2 of Maitri Super Thermal Power Project will help to address the growing energy demand of the people and the businesses in the southern part of Bangladesh. Built with the concessional financing of $1.6 billion extended by the Government of India, the Maitri Super Thermal Power Plant stands as a successful example of India's commitment to contribute to energy security of its neighbors. Under the visionary leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, India and Bangladesh have showcased exemplary collaboration, setting a precedent for shared progress that also brings benefits for the people at a regional scale. Today, the inauguration of the three projects demonstrate their resolve in both countries to accelerate progress and prosperity for the people and to contribute to the growing ties between the region and beyond. Jai Hind, Joi Bangla.
May I now request the two honorable prime ministers to kindly inaugurate these projects by pressing the buttons. May I now request Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Her Excellency Sheikh Hasina, to kindly deliver her remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Prime Minister of India, His Excellency Sri Narendra Modi, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, namaste, and a very good morning. I am extremely happy to join Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi today to inaugurate three projects. Akhaura-Agartala Rail Link, Khulna-Mongla Port Rail Link project, and Unit 2 of the Maitri Super Thermal Power Plant project. The joint inauguration of these important projects manifests the firm friendship and collaboration between our two friendly countries. I would like to thank you, Modi ji, for your warm hospitality during my visit to New Delhi in September 2023 to attend the G20 Leaders Summit. I express my heartfelt gratitude for your commitment to strengthening the bonds of friendship between our two countries. Distinguished guests, I pay my deep homage to the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. I also recall 3 million martyrs and 200,000 dishonored women from the Liberation War. I pay my deep respects to the freedom fighters. I gratefully recall the sacrifice of the people of India and the cooperation extended by the government of India during our war of liberation in 1971. I would like to thank the government of India for jointly producing the biopic of the father of the nation of Bangladesh, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, Mujib, the making of a nation. I would like to extend my deep appreciation and thankfulness to Sriman Narendra Modi. The screening is now going on both in Bangladesh and India. I would also like to thank all who were associated with the making of the biopic. Through this movie, our future generation will be able to learn about the life and sacrifice of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, our freedom fighters, and our war of liberation. Excellency, the relationship between Bangladesh and India is anchored in history, culture, language, and shared values of secularism, democracy, and countless other commonalities. We attach the highest importance to our relations with India. Over the years, we have transformed numerous opportunities into tangible achievements across various sectors, such as improving connectivity, fostering trade and commerce, promoting development cooperation, nurturing cultural ties, facilitating people-to-people interactions, and more. Our collaboration in the power sector and connectivity stands out as a shining example of our win-win cooperation. Since my government's re-election in 2009 for a second term, access to electricity for our population and strengthening connectivity have been the two top priorities for us. I express my gratitude to the Government of India for the significant contributions in these two crucial sectors. I believe that the three projects we are going to inaugurate today will ensure the prosperity of the people of both countries. These projects will not only ensure prosperity but also help in a broader implication for the sub-region. The Moitri Super Thermal Power Project would contribute to the energy security of Bangladesh by providing reliable power to a more competitive price and reducing dependence on other costly means of power generation. This project will also contribute to grid stability as well as affordable, reliable, and uninterrupted power supply. The Kaura-Agartala rail link will enhance connectivity and trade, promoting economic growth and people-to-people contact between our countries, especially with the northeastern part of India. The Khulna-Mongla Port Rail Link project will directly connect Mongla Port with the existing rail network. By doing this, the bulk cargo of imported goods can be easily transported cost-effectively to the northern and eastern regions of the country through railways with the help of containers. I would like to express my gratitude to the Government of India for their cooperation in the construction of these projects. Beside this, our port in Chittagong and Mongla and our airport in Chittagong can also be used by India, have been opened for this purpose. We have created a field of regional cooperation in Chittagong and Mongla Port. Over the past nearly 15 years, Bangladesh had witnessed remarkable economic growth, positioning itself as one of the world's fastest growing economies. Bangladesh now ranks as the 35th largest economy in the world. We have reduced the extreme poverty rate from 2.1% in 2006 to 5.6% in 2022. And the per capita income has tripled to nearly USD 2,765 from a mere 543 in 2006. We envision emerging as an advanced and prosperous smart Bangladesh by 2041. My government has put emphasis on infrastructure development. Last year, we inaugurated the self-funded Padda multi-purpose bridge and the first ever metro rail in the capital. Padda multi-purpose bridge will have an important role in regional connectivity, including with that of India. In September 2023, we inaugurated the country's first elevated expressway in Dhaka. In October 2023, we inaugurated the train service through the Padda Bridge. Just a few days ago, we inaugurated the Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman Tunnel under the river Kornofuli in Chattogram, the first in South Asia. Through this inaugural, the capacity of Chattogram port will be increased. In recent times, we have received many tangible outcomes through our collaborative endeavors. These include ensuring peace and stability in India's northeastern region and facilitating access to the Chattogram and Mongla ports for improved connectivity between mainland India and the northeastern part of India. I am confident that in the days to come, we will have opportunities of more success stories that will strengthen our joint collaboration. We will prove that good relation with neighbor improves our bilateral relation and the progress of a country. This is a example for the world. I would conclude here by conveying warm greetings in advance for the upcoming Diwali. I wish Your Excellency Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the people of India a very happy Diwali. I thank you all. I'm really very happy to be connected with you. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu. May Bangladesh live forever. Long live Bangladesh-India friendship.
Thank you, Excellency. May I now request Honorable Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi ji, to kindly address this gathering.
Your Excellency, प्रधानमंत्री शेख हसीना जी, त्रिपुरा के मुख्यमंत्री माणिक साह जी, केंद्रीय मंत्रिमंडल में मेरे सहयोगी डॉक्टर जयशंकर, श्री अश्विनी वैष्णव, श्री R.K. सिंह, श्री जी किशन रेड्डी, इस समारोह से जुड़े सभी साथीगण, नमस्कार। ये बहुत खुशी की बात है कि हम एक बार फिर भारत बांग्लादेश सहयोग की सफलता को सेलिब्रेट करने के लिए एक साथ जुड़े हैं। हमारे संबंध निरंतर नई ऊंचाइयां छू रहे हैं। पिछले 9 वर्षों में हमने मिलकर जितना काम किया है, इतना काम कई दशकों में भी नहीं हुआ था। हमने बॉर्डर पर शांति, सुरक्षा और स्थिरता की बहाली के लिए दशकों से लंबित लैंड बाउंड्री एग्रीमेंट किया और मैरीटाइम बाउंड्री को भी सुलझाया। दोनों देशों के लोगों की साझा अपेक्षाओं और आकांक्षाओं पूरा करने के लिए हमने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर और कनेक्टिविटी के विकास पर विशेष बल दिया। पिछले 9 वर्षों में 3 नई बस सेवाएं शुरू की गई हैं। इससे ढाका, अगरतला, शिलांग, गुवाहाटी और कोलकाता को आपस में जोड़ा गया। पिछले 9 वर्षों में 3 नई रेल सेवाएं भी शुरू की गई। 2020 से तो भारत बांग्लादेश के बीच कंटेनर और पार्सल ट्रेनें भी चल रही हैं। पिछले 9 वर्षों में इनलैंड वाटरवेज को पैसेंजर और गुड्स के यातायात के लिए विकसित किया गया। इसी रास्ते से बांग्लादेश से त्रिपुरा के लिए एक्सपोर्ट का रास्ता खुल गया है। विश्व का सबसे बड़ा क्रूज गंगा विलास भारत और बांग्लादेश के बीच शुरू होने से पर्यटन को बढ़ावा मिला है। पिछले 9 वर्षों में चिटागोंग और मोंगला पोर्ट के रास्ते से भारत के उत्तर पूर्व के राज्यों को जोड़ा गया है। हमारे कनेक्टिविटी इनिशिएटिव्स ने कोविड महामारी के दौरान लाइफलाइन का काम किया। ऑक्सीजन एक्सप्रेस ने 4000 टन से ज्यादा लिक्विड मेडिकल ऑक्सीजन भारत से बांग्लादेश पहुंचाई। पिछले 9 सालों में भारत बांग्लादेश सीमा क्षेत्र पर 4 नए इमिग्रेशन चेकपोस्ट खोले गए हैं और पिछले 9 वर्षों में हमारा आपसी व्यापार लगभग 3 गुना हो गया है। फ्रेंड्स, इन 9 वर्षों की यात्रा में आज अखौरा अगरतला रेल लिंक, उसका उद्घाटन भी एक ऐतिहासिक पल है। भारत के पूर्वोत्तर राज्यों से बांग्लादेश का ये पहला रेल लिंक है। त्रिपुरा का बांग्लादेश के साथ लिबरेशन स्ट्रगल के समय से गहरा नाता रहा है। इस लिंक के माध्यम से पूर्वोत्तर भारत के राज्य बांग्लादेश के पोर्ट्स भी जुड़ेंगे। खुलना मोंगला पोर्ट रेल लाइन, इसके बनने से अब बांग्लादेश का मोंगला पोर्ट रेलवे के रास्ते ढाका और कोलकाता ट्रेड सेंटर से जुड़ गया है। मुझे खुशी है कि आज हमने मैत्री थर्मल पावर प्रोजेक्ट के दूसरे यूनिट का उद्घाटन किया। पिछले 9 वर्षों में हमारे पावर और एनर्जी सहयोग में ये एक नई कड़ी है। 2015 से 160 मेगावाट बिजली त्रिपुरा से बांग्लादेश जा रही है। पिछले वर्ष हमने मैत्री थर्मल पावर प्लांट के पहले यूनिट का अनावरण किया था। इसी वर्ष मार्च में दोनों देशों के बीच पहली क्रॉस बॉर्डर हाई स्पीड डीजल पाइपलाइन का उद्घाटन किया गया। हमारे आपसी सहयोग से बांग्लादेश की एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी को बल मिला है। ऊर्जा के क्षेत्र में बांग्लादेश आत्मनिर्भरता की ओर अग्रसर हुआ है। यही नहीं, इस वर्ष सब रीजनल कनेक्टिविटी के लिए भारत, बांग्लादेश और नेपाल के बीच बिजली के आदान प्रदान पर भी सहमति बनी है। फ्रेंड्स, हमने सबका साथ सबका विकास की हमारी अप्रोच को बांग्लादेश जैसे अपने निकटतम पड़ोसी मित्र के लिए भी प्रासंगिक माना है। बांग्लादेश का सबसे बड़ा डेवलपमेंट पार्टनर होने पर हम गौरवान्वित महसूस करते हैं। पिछले 9 वर्षों में विभिन्न क्षेत्रों में विकास कार्यों के लिए लगभग $10 बिलियन की सहायता दी जा रही है। हमारे अचीवमेंट्स की लिस्ट इतनी बड़ी है कि उसकी व्याख्या करते हुए पूरा दिन निकल जाए। हमने साथ मिलकर पुराने रुके हुए काम तो पूरे किए ही हैं, लेकिन आज के कार्यक्रम की एक और विशेषता है। आज जिन 3 प्रोजेक्ट्स का उद्घाटन किया गया है, उनका निर्णय भी हमने ही लिया था और इन्हें लोगों को समर्पित करने का सौभाग्य भी हमें ही मिला है। फ्रेंड्स, हमारे संयुक्त प्रयासों की सफलता के लिए मैं प्रधानमंत्री शेख हसीना जी का विशेष रूप से आभार प्रकट करता हूं। कुछ सप्ताह पहले वे G20 समिट में विशेष अतिथि के रूप में भी शामिल हुई। हमें उनका स्वागत सम्मान करने का अवसर मिला। इसके लिए भी मैं प्रधानमंत्री शेख हसीना जी का हृदय से आभार प्रकट करता हूं। एक्सेलेंसी, आपके स्मार्ट बांग्लादेश को आगे बढ़ाने में भारत पूरा सहयोग देता रहेगा। मुझे खुशी है कि बांग्लादेश के 12 जिलों में 12 आईटी पार्क्स बनाने में भारत सहयोग दे रहा है। फिनटेक के क्षेत्र में दोनों देशों के पेमेंट गेटवेज को जोड़ने के लिए भी सहमति बनी है। मेरा पूर्ण विश्वास है कि हमारे साझा प्रयासों से बंगबंधु के सोनार बांग्लादेश का विजन साकार होगा। एक बार फिर इस आयोजन में शामिल होने के लिए आप सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you, sir. The ceremony is now concluded. We thank you all for joining us today. Namaskar.
That was Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina of Bangladesh together inaugurating 3 key development projects which are going to be of great implications for the entire region. These 3 projects, 2 rail lines and a power projects, have been developed through India's assisted program. In her address, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina of Bangladesh praised India's development partnership. Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke about the manner in which these development projects could be transformative for trade and commerce, for development and for people-to-people connectivity, particularly to the northeast of India and its connectivity and cultural ties with Bangladesh as well. And India is proud to be the largest development partner of Bangladesh, is something that Prime Minister said concluding his address. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.